Palm Tree. I am feeling very indifferent about this new Puzzle album, The Rotten Opera, but we're going to get into this review anyway, man. Here we go. So first of all, if you don't know who Puzzle is,
this is Fletcher Shears.
He is one half of the punk experimental band The Garden alongside his twin brother Wyatt, and Puzzle is his solo project. He's released a handful of albums under this name. And what he does is like kind of experimental hip hop with a post-punk twist. It's very experimental. It's very synth heavy. He uses a lot of really creative samples, and his brother Wyatt is totally a beast of his own. But this Puzzle album is kind of hard to place my finger on it because, you know, he's rapping a lot on there and you can't quite treat it as a hip hop album. You know, if you are into The Garden, Puzzle, and Enjoy is Wyatt's solo project. If you are into these guys, you already know Vada Vada, which is their label or collective. This whole genre is its own universe. So Vada Vada and the artists who are affiliated with that label, you know, have their own cult following, they have their own signature sound, they have their own signature imagery, and, you know, they're just doing a lot of crazy stuff, right? Now, on this album, I think the vibes are kind of like experimental hip-hop meets punk. Fletcher has always been, you know, the little more rappish one compared to his brother, Enjoy. One of my favorite songs off of this project is Personality Ransack. I love that punk feel to it, and that's deep in the album, too. One of the few not so dark tracks, because overall this album is very dark. It's very like, you know, dungeon chant rap vibes. It's, you know, if you were trapped on a hard level in Legend of Zelda, what would Link be rapping, you know, to himself as he goes crazy? Another song that caught my ear on this project was Tip My Hat. Another song which caught my ear on here was Barking at the Sea. It's a familiar vibe from some of the Garden's previous work, and it goes back to, you know, that being dark and mysterious sound. There's these kind of chimey, jewelry-like sound effects, and it has this 80s punk vibe. And then another song, Taller Than a Smokestack, just has that classic Vada Vada sound. If you are into, like I said, The Garden, Puzzle, Enjoy, Slater, Cowgirl Clue, you're familiar with what I'm talking about. And that line he says, like giving birth to a 29-year-old. There's another line at some point in the album, I forget which song, but he talks about like something's wrong if you don't have haters. Love that part, man. The whole thing overall, Puzzle kind of reminds me of like something that would have been released on Definitive Jux Records, you know, which was ran by LP back in the... Now, if you are not familiar with Puzzle's work, I suggest that you check out these songs that I'm naming right now on screen to give you a little bit more of a taste test of what this kid is all about. This album, I don't quite know if this is the best representation of what Puzzle can do. And I'm not saying I didn't dig the album, I definitely did. And I think it's not meant to be, you know, playlisted. It's not meant to, you know, taken apart little individual songs and examine that way. You're supposed to digest the whole project, you know, as a whole. But there are little moments on here that you can pull apart, all of which I previously named. Okay, so overall, I did not dislike this album. I'm just feeling very indifferent to it. And I know this is going to be very different for most of my readers, most of my viewers. For most of the Palm readers, this is going to be a little out there too, you know, as underground, as indie as I am. But for the most part, what I took away from this album was that it was kind of almost like hip hop that you can't rap along to. And it's definitely more aimed for the mosh pit type of scene, you know, with these 80s punk vibes and these odd synths, and it's just so experimental that this is the type of stuff I love to hear because it's just pushing boundaries of so many genres. So what did you guys think of Puzzle, The Rotten Opera? Let me know in the comments. Peace, love, Palm.